Hey guys, I'm Tyler Kopstock and welcome to my channel. I represent Frukthagen Academy and I'm a student under Eduardo Teta Rios. I'm a full-time Jiu-Jitsu athlete and instructor, and I created this page to share my techniques, training and Jiu-Jitsu journey with you. Feel free to like and subscribe, and welcome to the family. Os. Hey guys, welcome to another week here. I'm here with Lasse, and this week we're going to go through the side control. So Lasse is going to be here on the bottom, and we've been doing a lot of passes these last weeks. And so I finally got to this solid position here where I can start controlling his arm and his head here, okay? So we're going to go through a little bit of a fancy kind of setup for some attacks here. I learned this from Victor Estima when he visited us for a seminar. Super nice techniques, very basic, and has been a lot of help for the beginners at my school. So when I'm here on the side here, a lot of the times he wants to hip escape and get out of here, okay? And the thing about the hip escape is it starts with Lasse bringing his neck off the floor, okay? So the thing is, he wants to lift me away or push me away, create space, and then shove his hips away, okay? If I can now push his neck down to the floor and pin his neck like this, watch how this becomes of a irritable kind of like factor here, okay? So if he tries to hip escape now, I limit his hip escape, okay? We're gonna move a little bit in here. So naturally, when I'm putting my hip here on the side and I'm starting to push his chin up, remember the IBJJF rules, you have to keep clear from the face. So you wanna be underneath his chin, okay? So when I do this, naturally he's gonna come forward with one of his hands, okay? Maybe both, okay? So what I'm gonna do here, turn a little bit here, is as soon as he's grabbing my hand, I'm gonna look to grab his, okay? So when I'm grabbing his wrist or his hand, depending on what I get, I'm gonna shove it between my legs and step over, okay? Right now, I just wanna catch it and keep my knees tight together so that I'm closing it and isolating it away here, okay? Now, I'm gonna switch my focus onto his far side arm here, okay? Nice and easy. I can move a little bit forward, and the same thing here as well. I can look straight to grab the wrist, or I can start teasing a little bit first by pushing his neck down. He does the same mistake again. I look for his wrist, okay? Now, here, I'm gonna start setting up the Americana. So, my arm here goes underneath his tricep, or his bicep here, okay? The upper arm, and I'm gonna grab my own wrist, okay? So it goes under, grabs my own wrist, the other wrist is grabbing his wrist, and I'm gonna turn his wrist outwards here, okay? Kind of like a motorcycle movement, I guess the opposite way of the ignition. The ignition would be this way, but the opposite right now, okay? So now I wanna do that movement here with my wrist, and then bring his elbow tight to his ribs here, okay? Slowly and surely I will lift his elbow off the floor and push his wrist down, okay? And there we have the shoulder lock. So the good thing here is that I've isolated this arm, okay? If this arm was free and I was starting to attack here, a lot of the times he will turn towards this arm and then he will start defending, maybe even grab his hands together, and then it's hard for me to finish the submission, okay? But this time, here, boom, I pushed his neck, I grabbed his arm, I isolated it, and now I can switch my focus to the far side arm, okay? So as soon as he's grabbing my wrist again, I'm looking for the wrist, and here I am, okay? Still making sure his arm is trapped behind me. I can now square up a little bit. Watch how I'm grabbing my own wrist, grabbing his wrist, and I'm gonna turn it, bring it close to his body, and then lift his elbow off the floor, okay? So kind of like I want to brush his wrist or his hand down to the floor here, okay? Nice, easy technique, and very efficient. Awesome. Okay guys, so we're gonna go a little bit further here in the same position that we just did. So Lasse is here and the bottom side control, and still going for the same isolation here where I'm pushing his neck, he grabs my wrist, I grab his, and I isolate his arm, okay? So now, in this scenario, Lasse is gonna be pushing more with this hand here, okay? Of course, I can look for the moment where he's trying to remove my hand instead and then try to grab his wrist and go back to the first technique. But sometimes they're really focused on my neck and they really want to push it away. Okay? So I'm going to time this a little bit, and I'm kind of slapping his wrist here and then lifting my neck. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to pass this arm and catch it with my arm underneath here. Okay? Boom. And here I go. I can start setting up a Kimura. Okay? So it's a little bit of a fast switch where as soon as he's pushing, I slap his arm over and I'm controlling it here. Okay? At no point do I want to let go and let him bring his arm in again. Okay? So I'm here. I push it over and I can turn my body on top of him. And watch how I'm going to swim under with this arm and catch his wrist. Okay? Kimura grip, thumb over, other thumb over my own wrist here. And now, same kind of thinking here. I want to brush his hand up against the floor and bring his elbow up. Okay? A very nice detail I picked up from Cyborg a couple of years ago. Especially like if there's a lot of friction. Let's say Lasse puts his hand flat to the floor here. And it's super hard for me to pull it. Okay? Sometimes you just have to shake. Like Taylor Swift, shake it off. So by shaking, I can keep working through the friction. So same setup here. I'm pushing his arm through, isolated, and this time he's pushing me away and making it difficult for me to get close and work the Americana. That's fine. I'm just gonna slap it over, catch it, switch, catch his wrist here. Watch how I'm keeping my thumb over his wrist and then my own thumb over my own hand here, or my own wrist here, okay? I want to bring it tight to me, okay? If he's putting palm to the floor and he's making it hard for me here, that's fine. I can now shake and then lift his elbow off the floor, okay? So shoulder lock here, nice and easy, okay? So now we have the Americana on this side, but also if they push, boom, you switch and you have the Kimura. Okay? Well, hope you guys liked it. Please like and subscribe. See you guys next time. Hey guys, welcome to another week here at the beginner's course, and today we're going to do some attacks from side control. So we've been doing passes a couple of weeks now, and now is the time to start attacking a little bit from the side control. So Luz is going to be on the bottom here in front of me. And this is a pretty basic kind of way to set up the Kimura and the Americana. I learned it from Victor Stima, and when I've been teaching it to my students afterwards, it has worked a lot and it's pretty effective. So from side control, once I have the control of his head and his arm, what I'm going to try to do now is to angle myself a little bit in towards him here, okay? Of course, I got to make sure that I'm not losing my balance here or anything, so I'm keeping my legs basing out, and I'm always controlling with the side of my rib cage here, okay? So he's going to be having his hands in front of him. He's going to be framing. He's going to try to be hip escaping, right? And the thing about hip escaping is that he wants to bring his neck up from the floor, and then he wants to move his hip out, okay? So if I know that he needs to bring his neck off the floor, I can now push his neck down to the floor, okay? Of course, this is not going to prevent him from pushing or being strong, but this is going to make it a lot harder for him to start moving his hips away, okay? So if you try to move now, I can make it a little bit more difficult, right? And it's bothering him quite a lot, okay? So when this happens, naturally, Lasse is going to grab my hand, okay? Might be with the left hand, might be with the right hand, depends a little bit, sometimes both, okay? But as soon as I see that he's grabbing my wrist, I'm going to look to grab his, okay? I'm going to move his hand down, and I'm going to try to catch it with my top leg here, okay? And I want to isolate his arm in between and keep it there. Now I want to shift my focus to the far arm here, okay? So we're going to go for the Americana here first. It might be difficult to catch it at first, but most of the time they're going to be pushing you away, or you can be pushing their neck and then look for the wrist afterwards when he tries to remove your hand. So now I'm going to push his wrist to the floor and watch how my hand is already underneath his tricep here, okay? So I'm just looking to grab my own wrist and then shift my weight so I'm flat on top of him here, okay? I'm still isolating this arm in the back. I'm not letting that one come out or get free. So here, watch how I'm gonna turn his wrist outwards, okay? Kind of like a motorcycle movement here with my wrist. So I'm turning his wrist outwards here. And I'm gonna bring his elbow tight to his body, okay? So turn, bring it tight to his body. Now I'm gonna push his wrist to the floor and bring his elbow up. Nice and easy. Try to imagine that you're brushing the floor with his hand, okay? So you're bringing it tight here, and then you wanna get the submission. So starting from the beginning here, first isolating his arms, right? So I'm pushing away, he grabs my wrist, I'm catching that arm, okay? Now looking to shift my focus on the other arm here, or keep pushing and then look for the wrist afterwards. In a way, time is on my side from this position. Likely, I'm winning on points, or likely, basically, I'm in a dominant position, so I can take my time and wait until he makes the mistake. So I get his wrist here. I'm gonna look to grab my own wrist underneath here, and now shift my weight so I'm on top of him here, okay? Heavy all the time, I'm gonna turn his wrist out, and now, nice and easy, get the tap, okay? Very effective. Efficient move. Hey guys, so we're gonna go a little bit further here, and this time we're gonna set up a Kimura here from the side control. So Lasse is still on the bottom, and we're gonna still go for the same isolation that we've been working for, okay? So I managed to push his arm in, catch it, and lock it away, okay? This time, I don't manage to push his hand down, or let's say he's pushing my face away, and even though I'm pushing his neck down, he's still pushing my face instead, okay? So right now I want to focus on pushing his hand even further and then creating a little bit of a space with my neck so that it can pass through, okay? By the way, keep in mind though, when talking about his face and the IBJJF rules, make sure that you're pushing underneath the neck, right? So here, I'm gonna push his hand over, and I'm catching his arm inside my my arm underneath here, okay? So I'm still cupping and I'm gonna be tight here. At the same time, I'm gonna change my weight over to the other side, boom, here. And I'm gonna swim this arm underneath, and then I can start looking for the Kimura grip, okay? Thumb over, I'm gonna grab his wrist, and then I'm gonna go with my own thumb over on my own wrist, okay? So all fingers over here. I'm gonna bring his wrist tight to his body, and now I just wanna bring his elbow off the floor and finish here, okay? A lot of the times you might experience there's a lot of friction on the mat here, okay? And when I try to bring it, he's kind of stopping me from bringing it because of the friction on the mat. Here, I like to go for a little adjustment here that I learned by Cyborg, and he says you should vibrate it or shake it. Kind of like Taylor Swift, if you want to think about it. Shake it off. So here, you want to shake and then prevent him from keeping the surface on the floor here, okay? So you're moving his hand by slowly pushing it over, okay? Keep in mind, turn. While I'm doing this, I'm keeping myself heavy on top of him here, okay? Also, this arm is still in between my legs, okay? If this was happening here, he would likely be moving up on his side, and it would be a totally different fight, okay? So I'm still trying to keep this arm in between when I move over, okay? So one more time here. I catch his arm. He's pushing my face away. It's being difficult to come closer. So I'm gonna slap it over. Boom. Catch it fast, and then change my weight over to the other side, okay? Hand on the wrist, hand on my own wrist, and now slowly bring his elbow up and his hand under, okay? Nice and basic technique. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked it, and please subscribe.